Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Drew from Home Improvement Life with Drew, and this is part two of our series of the Road to Linux. And in the first part, you remember we bought a used device, we upgraded it with some hardware, and now we're going to actually go into installing the operating system. But why are people leaving Windows 11 for Linux? And it's growing fast. If you are frustrated with Windows 11, and you're not alone, you may be surprised to see how many people are actually quietly switching to Linux, not just developers, not just hobbyists, but regular users, businesses, and even governments. Today, I want to break down why this is happening and the numbers that prove it's not a fringe operating system or a trend anymore. I think you'll find that compared to like 2008, Linux was more of a nerdy kind of operating system. You needed to get into the terminal and type command lines. Now, not so much. I think you're going to be really surprised.
Let's talk about what's driving people switching from Windows 11 to Linux. That forced you to get a Microsoft account just to install it. So you couldn't just say, I want to install it and I'll make my own login and I'll use my current email address. No, you had to go and make a specific Microsoft account on the Microsoft site. Increased telemetry, meaning they're collecting data about you, what websites you go to, how you're using your computer, along with sending you ads based on that information within the OS. Think of Facebook. Facebook does the same thing. Higher hardware requirements. You could not take older hardware and run Windows 11 on it. It required a TPM version 2 chip, which for most people, they don't really care for. It's a module to secure the device. You may have bought a computer that didn't have that chip just a year before, just a few months before Windows 11 came out, and now that computer is not good anymore with regards to running Windows 11 on it, and Windows 10 is now out of support as of October. It also made performance much slower than it had been. All right, let's look at the numbers. Linux desktop usage has passed 4% globally, and in some regions it's over 6%. It sounds small, but that's literally hundreds of millions of machines. On Steam is a gaming engine. Gaming usage has more than doubled since 2021, driven largely by the Steam Deck and Proton compatibility. Surveys showed that up to 30% of Windows 10 users say they are considering alternatives because they don't need to buy or they don't want to buy, new hardware and to upgrade to Windows 11. And Linux is the top option cited. The other option people are looking at also is Mac, but Macs are very expensive. Here, I can use a used machine, a free operating system, and be very secure. Governments and large organizations, Germany, India, Brazil, have migrated tens of thousands of desktops in their government organizations to Linux to cut licensing costs and to gain control. Why is this time different? Why is this time? Because they've been saying for many, many years, oh, everyone needs to go to Linux. Linux is really cool. You need to run it. But why is this time? Why is it so different this time? Because this isn't the Linux desktop of 2008. Today, most printers and Wi-Fi drivers work right out of the box. Office alternatives like LibreOffice are solid and free. Chrome, Firefox, Zoom, Steam, Visual Studio Code are native Linux apps, and there's others as well. And there's no forced upgrades or surprise reboots. You deal with it on your own terms. You won't be working, and all of a sudden the computer says, "Oh, I need to restart." No, you get to pick when you install the update and when it restarts.
Meanwhile, Linux has gone in the opposite direction. Modern desktop Linux is faster, lighter, and more user-friendly than most people ever realize. Distributions like Linux Mint, Ubuntu, Fedora offer point-and-click installs, application stores, automatic updates, great hardware support, and no ads or data harvesting. In addition, there's a lot of free software you can use on Linux, and you can also use some Windows software on Linux, and we'll get into that throughout this episode. Not this episode, but throughout this series. So if Windows 11 feels heavier, more restrictive, or less like your computer, you're not crazy, and you're not alone. The shift to Linux isn't loud, but it's real and it's accelerating. Okay, so you're going to walk through installing Ubuntu Linux today, and it's a Ubuntu desktop, and it's long-term support LTS version, and you'll see this. The way it looks may not be what you would be familiar with, but we're going to update it with a different desktop, which is something you can do with Linux. There's a lot of things you can do with Linux, and we'll get into that. So without hesitation, let's go ahead and let's download what we need to download and get it installed on the computer.
Based on research I've been doing, the version of Linux that we're going to be using is from Ubuntu. So let's go to the Ubuntu download site and let's download the ISO image. So I'll open my browser. We'll do a search for Ubuntu, and there it is, ubuntu.com/download/desktop. And we'll go ahead and we'll download to our downloads folder. So we'll select download, and it'll start here in a moment. And we're downloading the Ubuntu desktop 24.04.3 LTS, which stands for long-term support. And we're going to go ahead and put it into our downloads folder. And notice that it is an ISO file, means it's a disk image file. So let's go ahead and save that. And we can see it's going to take a bit of time, take about 3 minutes. Okay, we can see that our download has now completed, and we can go validate that by looking into our downloads folder, and sure enough, there it is right in the beginning there. So the next thing we're going to need to do is to burn this ISO image to a USB device, USB flash drive. And then what we're going to do is to boot to this flash drive from the computer that we want to install Linux on. So in order to do that, we need to download another piece of software. It's called Balena Etcher. So let's do a search for Balena Etcher. It flashes OS images to SD cards and USB drives. So let's go ahead and go there. And we want to download Etcher. And the fact that we're on a Mac here, we want to select the Mac OS and download. And this is going to download to our downloads folder. And it's complete. So let's go ahead and close our browser, and let's go to the downloads folder, and let's go to install Balena Etcher. And so what we want to do is drag it to applications, and there it is. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to insert a USB drive into our machine here so that we can burn the ISO image to it. So let me disconnect one item from the back of my Mac, and we'll install the USB drive. Okay, and you can see the USB drive. Let's get rid of this. Eject. Here's our USB drive. So let's go ahead and launch Balena Etcher. Okay, we want to flash from file, and we want to flash from the Ubuntu desktop file that we downloaded from the Ubuntu website. We'll select open. And we'll select our target, which is this USB SanDisk right here. The other disks are this yellow disk up top, which is the disk that I store all my media on for the YouTube videos. Time Machine is another disk, a separate disk that I store, or that it does backups on periodically throughout the day. So we've selected our SanDisk, and we'll select one, and we'll flash. Enter my password, and it's starting. Okay, Balena Etcher has successfully expanded the ISO on the USB device. It's made that USB device bootable. It's also validated that the image written matches the image that it was obtained from. And so now the next step is to install this on our Dell laptop that we built in the last episode.
Okay, so we're going to start with our updated laptop that we purchased from eBay and then added some new hardware. And one of the first things I'm going to do is put in a thumb drive that contains the operating system that we downloaded earlier. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to boot this computer, but I'm going to boot into that thumb drive. So to do that, first we do is press the power on button, and then we're going to hold down the F12, and you notice it's saying preparing one-time boot menu. Okay, so it gives us the onboard NIC cards, gives us the USB, which is what we want to do. So we're going to go ahead and press enter. I'm going to zoom in. You can follow along. So we have a choice here. It says try or install Ubuntu Safe Graphics, boot from next volume, or UEFI firmware settings. So we're going to just go ahead and select try or install Ubuntu just by pressing enter. This is actually easier than installing Windows, believe it or not, and you'll see for yourself. It's doing a lot of background tasks right now. There we go. Remember, this is running off of the thumb drive, and those are not as fast as the solid state disks. So once it's actually installed, you'll see it's going to be significantly faster. Even plays a little music, so it knows it found our sound card. All right, so I don't like using that trackpad, so I like to use a Bluetooth. So I have a Bluetooth mouse here, and I'm going to go ahead and start Bluetooth, and we want to, this is a Microsoft mouse, believe it or not. We're going to hold down the button until it just blinks a few times. There we go. And there is our Bluetooth mouse. I had to click on settings. And now I can move the mouse, as you can see, and we're good to go. So great, let's close this. Now we want to choose our language, so I'm going to select English and next. This is for the install, once I have my mouse moving. Accessibility in Ubuntu, customize Ubuntu to your needs before you set up. You can change them later in the system settings. So if you have if you just want to see it, you can. Hearing impaired if you're typing, pointing, clicking, zoom. So let's just go next. Select the default. English US works for me. We want to connect to the internet, and we'll select, and we do our password, and hopefully we got it right, and it did connect. So it says an update is available for the installer. So it's called back home and said, hey, I'm installing over here. Do you have anything new for me? And it says, yeah, I do. So let's go ahead and update now. Update is ready. Please close the installer and relaunch to continue. So we're going to install Ubuntu. There's a little icon here. Install Ubuntu. English. Seeing. English US. Keyboard. We're connected to the internet. We want to do either an automatic installation or automated installation if you've created a script, or we can just go with interactive. Let's do interactive. So let's do our default selection, just the essentials, web browser, base utilities already extended, which is an offline friendly selection of office tools, utilities, and web browsers. Let's just go with the default selection for now. Install third-party software for graphics and Wi-Fi hardware, or download and install support for additional media formats. Let's go ahead and select both. Next. We want to erase the disk and install Ubuntu. So you can see the disk we put in is working. And we'll do advanced features. No, cancel. We'll just do none selected. We'll create an account. Call it Drew. And our password, require my password to log on, or if you had Active Directory, which is a Windows Server directory service, you could use that as well. We'll select next. And we're in New York area. So this part, you can, if you were in the Philippines, you could just select over there. But we're over here. Toronto, New York. And we're all set for the install. It shows us how it's going to create our partitions. And we go. Let's zoom in on the install so you can follow along. So a lot of applications that you presently use on Windows, especially if they're web applications like YouTube, like Facebook, you can run from here as well because it will have a web browser. Anything that's installed you can typically get for free, or as we'll learn in following upcoming episodes, you can take a Windows application and actually have it run on Linux with some tweaking in the background, which there's a application called Wine. And within Wine, you can create bottles. The bottles would be the application. So we'll probably dive into that a little bit in the upcoming episodes. If you're an animator, designer, video creator, or game developer, it's easy to bring your workflows to Ubuntu with support for open source and industry standard software. I'm not sure about CapCut, but I know that DaVinci Resolve will run on Linux. You can run games on it, for those of you that like to do gaming. It says it provides all of the tools you need to stay private and secure online, with built-in firewall and VPN support and a host of privacy-centric applications to ensure you are in full control of your device. You're not going to be getting ads like you will on a Windows 11 system, or will your internet browsing, unless you don't secure it like in Google or something, but from the computer itself, you won't be getting anything. So the desktop includes LibreOffice, a suite of Microsoft Office compatible open source applications for documents, spreadsheets, and presentations. Popular collaboration tools are also available. And again, this is free. You're not paying for this. Office is a very expensive program. It says, at the heart of Ubuntu philosophy is the belief that computing is for everyone, with advanced accessibility tools and options to change language, colors, and text size. Ubuntu makes computing easy, whoever and wherever you are. Has links for help and support. You can also, there's a lot of forums online. You'd be surprised how much information is out there on Ubuntu Linux and how much free help you can get just by going to a forum and typing in a question. Or even on YouTube. YouTube has a lot of tutorials on how to use Linux and how to configure certain things. Now, we haven't booted into the computer per se. In other words, we're not running anything from the hard drive on the computer or the solid state disk. It's all running from this USB stick right now. But once it completes installing, we'll take out the USB stick, we'll reboot, and then we'll be running natively on the computer. Okay, it says it needs to be restarted and that it's installed and ready to use. So restart to complete the installation or continue testing. Any changes you make will not be saved. So let's go ahead and restart now. Remove the installation medium and then press enter. So we'll remove the USB drive. And now it's going to actually boot into the device itself. Okay, it comes to the login screen. Our mouse is still working. So we'll click on the name and we'll type in our password and enter. Okay, now you're thinking to yourself, this doesn't really look like my Windows 10 or Windows 11 kind of desktop, but that's okay. This is a starting point. So we can welcome to Ubuntu, look at the release notes or next. We can enable Ubuntu Pro, we'll skip for now. Help improve, yes, share data with the Ubuntu team, or no, don't share data. Let's go ahead and share. And we have all these applications. We can open the App Center, which is down here. Show apps, trash, welcome to Ubuntu, need help, App Center, here we go. App Center is up here, this little A. Kind of looks like the store on your Google or iPhone. We have files here. Firefox is a web browser. We have our internet and also Bluetooth, night lights, power mode, dark style, keyboard, airplane mode if you're on an airplane. We don't have battery, you can just look, it's 87%. Our sound is also here. And then this is our power on and off. So let's finish. Thank you everybody for sticking with us during this video. I know it was long and I know there was a lot of dry parts in there, but I had to set the stage of why I'm switching to Linux. And I also wanted to show the full install, the full download, how to prepare the USB device to boot from. The next episode in this series, we'll start looking at configurations and making the desktop look more like Windows, adding some applications to it, and then just kind of working around, learning how to, navigate the UI, the user interface. So if you enjoy this kind of content, please hit the like, share, subscribe, make a comment in the comment section, and I'll see you on the next one. Let me know anything else you'd like to see regarding Linux, and I'll make sure it happens. Bye-bye.